Hello everybody and welcome to this week's video where we gonna be rehousing some African fossorial tarantulas. Basically, this is the continuation of the collection tour. As I mentioned in the last collection tour video, I don't have all the tarantulas in the household. Basically 90% of the African tarantulas are at my brother's room, so that are some of the tarantulas we will be looking to move today. So basically collection tour part 7 is a go. Let's first start with how I set up my fossorial tarantulas. I hope you can see this well. This is a classic Raplast box. It's 19 by 19 by 19 centimeters. I don't know any other measurements, but it's a classic box. I keep all of the fossorial juveniles basically inside. I place a hole there for the fossorial tarantula to go in and to make its height, even though they usually don't use that hole. They make a hole on their own, but I make a hole basically so they can hide when I rehouse them and they don't jump around the entire enclosure. Basically for all the enclosures I use the same materials, basically potting soil, coconut fiber, and some perlite, what we call it. I will write it down on the screen right now. Basically it's the stuff that helps earth make it fluffier and make it more breathable, and also absorbs water so it's not as damp as it can be. And I use a lot of stuff on the top, basically sphagnum moss, some coconut husks, and some sand there just for the decoration, but it's not needed. You can just use whatever you want. And now let's just move on and start to move some tarantulas basically. And the first tarantula is basically a hysterocrates gigas. I got, I think at the end of 2021 basically, so they're a year and a half, something like that old. There is the first one. I'm not showing you the whole process, it's just me flipping over the standard cups I use for basically arboreals and terrestrials, flipping over the cup and extracting the tarantula that way. It's the safest and most practical way to do it. So there is the first one. So let's move over to the second one. We have 3 hysterocrates gigas and 3 hysterocrates laticeps to go. So there is, I'm not gonna poke him, as you know, it's just an African tarantula and it will escape most likely if I bug him too much, so we will just see the next tarantula and it will be fine. Okay, so I'm rehousing the second one as well. Second one, gigas. This one is much more pre-molted than the previous one. This is the best I can show you. It's just a brown / black tarantula. When it gets bigger it looks much nicer. But yeah, also I want to mention that this soil, or this mixture of potting soil, coconut and everything else, was created only a few days ago, so it has a lot of moisture still, so I won't be wettering the substrate any more than it is already. So yeah, there we go. Now you can see him actually. He's just digging around. He doesn't like, this spiders really hate the light. All the fossorials pretty much do, so he's just digging in and hiding from the light, so there's no point in really showing him. And we are moving to the second one, the third one actually. Okay, I'm moving the third one, and again covering the enclosure properly, and he's not a happy camper basically. He's giving me that postures. And see, tarantula is backing off. Don't poke it like I'm doing here. Leave it alone. It will settle in naturally. It has everything it needs. Down there is also a burrow, and it can make a second one anyway, so it will just probably hide in a second. There we go. This is basically a fossorial tarantula. Doesn't like the light and wants to go straight in the hole, and the hole is basically where it tagged down. So pretty much perfectly, as pretty much a perfect tarantula rehouse as it can be. Pretty much it. Okay, so next up we have another species, slightly more brownish colors. That's the main distinction between them. This is hysterocrates laticeps. They were bought at the same time, as I mentioned, in the end of 2021. They're getting pretty big, all lived in the same conditions, all lived in the same cups, and yeah, pretty much it. As you can see, the hole is there somewhere, it's behind that, but the most important thing is, when you're rehousing fossorials, is to keep calm and to not do stupid mistakes, which is what, if I was doing it as a beginner or something like that, is to make a hole, or try to make a hole, when the tarantula is already inside the enclosure. First of all, it can make itself a hole. It will start doing it right now. And also, it doesn't need a hole right away, because it will just make it on its own. And third, you don't need to do it basically because it can bolt, and it makes rehousing way too risky. Make holes before you rehouse them. If the dirt goes into them, don't worry about it. If the tarantula feels okay, it will make a hole in a couple of days, and it won't make a difference, because the tarantula makes a hole where he wants to do it, where he or she wants to do it anyway. It doesn't matter if you make a pre-made hole. I have a bunch of tarantulas, like 80% of them make a hole on their own, and they don't use pre-made burrows. So use that knowledge wisely, because it's just stress to dig around when the tarantulas are inside. So if you already cover up the pre-made hole, just wait for the tarantula to make a hole instead, or wait a few days and try to make it then if you need to. But I strongly suggest don't do it that way. Just wait for tarantula to make a hole. Okay, the second laticeps, there you can see it, much nicer. I'm not using any cover right now because tarantula has been still for a few minutes, so I'm just using that, and when it starts to move, I'll just put a cup over it and basically do it that way. But yeah, second one, slightly more brownish, and I see the most changes. I never had a bigger tarantula of any hysterocrates species. But yeah, I'm gonna put the cover on now and move on to the last one. And there you go, basically the last tarantula rehoused as well, very easily, done in about 15 minutes and without any complications and without any escapes. Yes, they are slightly pre-molt, all of the laticeps were, but it didn't really matter at the end, because I used safety precautions that prevented tarantulas basically from even trying to escape. They kind of tried, but not really, basically. And now this one is digging right in there. You saw the slight movement there, but I'm not gonna poke it, because you can see I made a pre-made burrow, and I just showed you that tarantula don't really care about pre-made burrows, just wants to make their enclosure their own. So yeah, basically this is a very easy video, but like a good example of how to easily transfer some African tarantulas, African burrowers, without any problems. This is gonna be pretty much it for this week's video. If you like the video, like the video, share it with your friends if they're also into tarantulas and you want to share this video with them. Subscribe down below, and I will see you next week with another video. Bye.